So, boys, it's finally time.
Very fucking excited about this. Can I assume from the guitar intro that this is possibly a Skyrim episode?
It might be. I might be sitting here with a semi. I imagine Bundy's probably in a similar sort of scenario.
Similar because I'm full rage.
Are you full rager?
Yep.
The mic actually fell off the table because it was sitting at that big an angle.
Yep.
He's actually just knocked it off. Right, let's do a proper intro. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 11 of the Time In podcast. Today's host will be myself, Craig, and I'm going to try not sound like I'm crying with excitement. We're going to be talking about the Elder Scrolls and probably a main focus around Skyrim because it's me. What do you think about that, boys?
I'm very happy with this, especially because we're all big fans of it before we really realised, like speaking to each other, that we were all fans of it. You know what I mean? We're all fans of it individually, so probably all got a slightly different experience. We all started at the same point, I believe.
Yeah. Before we get into it and I become a complete fanboy, I'm just going to plug a bit of socials. We've been doing some great work on Twitch recently. Both myself and Bundy have been streaming. Myself, I've been streaming the likes of Rocket League, a little bit of Minecraft, and Bundy's been looking at his God of War playthrough and Ghost of Tsushima. I can't say it. Bundy, do you want to jump in?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Thank you. Again, we're being a bit more...
No, right, don't you go?
No, don't say it. I've just skipped past it like it didn't happen. We've also been a lot stronger on Twitter and Instagram. A big shout out to the podcast community on Instagram. I've had over 40 follows in the last week from other podcasts, which is great. Obviously, we've returned the favour as well. Boys, what's Twitter looking like?
Really good. It's, as you said, when you sort of tap into that community for podcasting, it just blows wide open. We've had loads of support for other people. I mean, the guys at Pod Wars have been really useful, to be fair. It's it was useful speaking to them, getting some actual technical advice, but just understanding how they work through it. For example, something simple: name the episode after you've recorded it because it makes more sense. Yes, I agree with that. That's something we don't do.
No.
Make a link tree so you don't have to, link everything and say what the links to the socials are. But no, it's been good. Slowly climbing and following, and hopefully that'll reflect in the downloads of the episodes.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Just one last question before I get this adventure started. What are we drinking, boys?
Got a wee tin of beer, a wee Budvar again, seeing as I got a big pack last week.
Lovely. Bundy, what are you on? You're very quiet today. I think it's excitement.
It is, and I'm also in the middle of drinking Angry Orchard hard cider.
Just like me. Right, okay. So, first point, the adventure begins. I want to know when you first started playing, some early memories. Go with it. Just give me a bit of insight to how you got in. It can be a particular Elder Scrolls game. It can be Skyrim. It's totally up to yourself. Obviously, I'm always going to look at the Skyrim side because I'm a wee fanboy. But yeah, Bundy, go for it. Get us started.
Right. So, I remember my first ever memory of it. Right, was I went to one of me and Ewan's mates' house, and he was playing this game called Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and I looked at the case and I was like, what is that? That's a weird logo, like that looks kind of like cool. And he was like, oh, really, really good. That's like an RPG game, like kind of like open world adventure kind of thing. I'm an Argonian, and I was like, what? And he was like, I'm an Argonian, and I was like, what's that? And it showed me like a lizard guy, and I was like, well, how much is the game? Where did you buy it? When did it come out? And then he showed me, and it was like, I think he was like, he had the mission he was on, or if it's a mission that, but he was just doing the arena. It was his first fight in the arena, and I was just like, wait, whoa, because your guy is a lizard man with full armor, and this guy is an elf, and you've just nailed him. And he was like, it's amazing. And I was like, cool. So then I literally went, believe it or not, that day to Argos and bought it immediately, and then went home, and that was. Did you even have to install games that kind of thing? You did,
No.
did you?
Yeah,
No,
you still did. You still did, yeah.
oh, did you? Oh, well, I literally remember like opening the disc tray and firing it in and being, and it literally just loading up, and I was like, well, here we go, and then here we are.
Wait a minute, actually, you are right, because it was 360, and 360 you didn't need
Back
to,
in the
if I'm
good
right in
old
saying
days when
sorry.
you could play a
No,
game
you
the
were
day
right.
you bought it.
Oh, I know.
Well,
Just shove it in and go.
I'm a bit harsh. I'm actually in
You know what mood I'm in.
Really, I was
Sorry.
exposed to the Elder Scrolls franchise by the exact same person as Bundy, a group of friends at school, and as you say, he told us I'm a lizard guy, I can breathe underwater, showed us some gameplay of the arena and stuff, fighting different people, and very quickly that became like the benchmark RPG for me. I compared all games that had any kind of sword and shield in it to that game. It was that good, and it was big enough that you could play it single player, and open enough that you could sort of free roam, but you could still, follow a story and do missions. I just thought it was the perfect RPG, and I don't believe one really came close. And it was one of the first games out for the Xbox 360, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
I remember playing it around the Halo 3 era, so I knew it was one of the first, but it just kind of captured me. All the different weapons, armour, the way you could do skills up whichever way you wanted. You could create your own unique character and work your way through the world. I loved it.
I think Oblivion was 2008, 2009.
Yeah, and
Roughly
Oblivion
around
is number 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's number 4.
I find it strange because we'll speak about it later, but you started on number 4 as well, didn't you?
Well, this is where I upset all Elder Scrolls fans, and you would think, obviously, me being the fanboy that I am.
Don't
the
you
first-
fucking dare.
Now I seen friends play it, but like the likes of Oblivion and Morrowind. But the first game that I owned and played was Skyrim. So I'm going to set. Yeah, it was. I'm going to set the scene for you. So you and I were actually working together at this time, and if you remember, obviously I'm not going to say where we were working, but the distance from my house to our work
Fucking
was like
hellhole.
5 minutes. Yeah, but anyway, let's not get into that. So it was the 11th of November 2011, and it was horrendous snow and ice, which is fitting for the game. But I can remember getting up first thing in the morning. I was day off. First thing in the morning, I've seen this game getting advertised, and I was like, I need to get this. And I ran down to our work to be there for opening, and I fell 3 times on the ice. And when I say I fell, I came back after purchasing the game, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I lifted my jacket, and no joke, I'd like scratched my arm all the way down. But I was so hyped, like I was sitting there bleeding, and I was like, nah, get this game in.
Looking like you've just came back off a real quest.
Yeah, but I got Skyrim as my first game, and you're not going to believe this. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it for the first month or so I had it. I just couldn't get into it, and the problem was that I went to areas in the game that wasn't high enough level, and I couldn't understand what was going on.
I was like you. I didn't play it because everybody got it just before Christmas. I remember that, and I actually didn't play it until like March the following year. Yeah,
but I couldn't progress, and it was really frustrating me, so I turned it off. But like almost every game that I've ended up loving, it's been a game I've hated to start with, and I went back to it, and it's been almost a part of me, which is really sad to say.
It is now a permanent part of you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's pretty sad when people call you Dover Craig or Dover Keen Craig. I get all the chicks. Honestly, I need to bat them away. Steph has to scare them away as well. But yeah. Anyway, before I go down a awkward route of conversation, this has to be the first question because Bundy's touched on it already. Bundy, customizing your character, class, build, race, go.
So this is the easiest question you're going to ask me, right? Because wait, are we going with Skyrim or Oblivion here? Sorry.
I'll give you the choice because obviously I'm always going to go back to Skyrim, but I do want it to be an Elder Scrolls discussion. So
right, I'll give you both then, right? Yeah. So Oblivion, Argonian, but build is full on. I'm going to hit you once, you're going to die. And class was I'm going to hit you once, you're going to die.
Two-handed, wasn't it?
Two-handed. And I really liked claymores and battle axes, and then everything else was just too small and too weak.
Everything else looks ridiculous after you've used a two-handed axe.
Literally.
Was it heavy armour or light?
Heavy. And then when it came to Skyrim, I was like, cool, I'm going to mix it up. And I don't know why, but when I started, so I really liked the feeling of like the bows and stuff, so I went an orc, because I was like, oh, do you know what, like I'm going to go two-handed again, but then I really liked feeling the bows, and I was like, actually, so I was like an orc tank archer, which was kind of weird. And then I used to have a number of different ones, but I usually try to have the wind shear, I think it was called. Remember the one that, like, it was like a scimitar?
Yeah.
And you found it on a boat, because I randomly stumbled across that pretty early game, so
I think for me it was probably Skyrim was more just a one-handed sword and a shield, and it was just a sort of steady build, if you know what I mean. It was a mix, it wasn't really one or the other. I believe it was medium and heavy armour. I kind of went between both. But when I got to Skyrim, that's when it got weird with builds. So, elf. Hey, let me get this right. Wood elf.
Wood elf,
or high elf?
You were wood elf.
I think I'll be wood elf. No.
You wouldn't have been a high elf, or we wouldn't be friends.
It was ugly ones anyway. Archer, but with heavy armour. And then when things got up close, I switched to dual wielding swords, which was fucking incredible. But back in Morrowind, I played that a bit, and I tried all my previous builds, and none of them seemed good. But I don't know if it was just, you know how you said you'd played Skyrim first and you didn't get back into Oblivion? I can't understand you, because I got Oblivion first and I couldn't get into Morrowind. Strange.
See, I played Morrowind after I played Oblivion, and I really liked it. And then after I played Skyrim, I was like, yeah.
I'm waiting for Sky Oblivion, which is Oblivion in the Skyrim engine. It's been getting made for so long.
Is that actually a thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. They've been working on it for years. So it's maybe worth looking at. But for me, I was almost identical to Bundy, but I was identical. So I was Orc. I liked the Berserker Rage perk. It's absolutely amazing. Double damage and half damage taken, which is probably one of the best racial moves in the game.
100%.
It's fantastic. In regards to build, it was two-handed. I've played Skyrim that many times, though. I've done every build, which is quite sad. But it was mainly two-handed. And then I know what Bundy was saying about archery. You kind of off archery anyway. I think you should. Skyrim's got a really good setup for archery. And that's probably why it's the most popular. And it gives a total different dynamic, because, let's be honest, the hand-to-hand combat's a little bit clunky, and you can just like move backwards anytime they swing at you. Yeah. But the bow and arrow dynamic's pretty strong.
I think what makes that is, you know, in Oblivion and Morrowind, it's just you pull back the arrow, you fire it, and it's real time. It's you know, it's as it is. When you get into Skyrim, you can upgrade your skill tree, and you can get slow down time and stuff. You can get staggering enemies. There's that many perks that make it much more viable and much more enjoyable.
But going from that, just a quick one, because Bundy mentioned a couple. Any standout weapons?
Oh my god! Oh, it has to be. If anyone doesn't agree with this, I hate you. Umbra.
I was going to say the exact same. That and the notched pickaxe.
I'm gonna the notched pickaxe. I'm going to disagree. And it's a great weapon, but it's the reason. If you go back to episode 1 of the podcast, I actually said the ebony blade was one of my favourite weapons. I'm pretty sure Bundy said lancer. From Gears of War, but mine was the ebony blade, because the story behind it, the whole
Ebony Warrior.
No, Ebony Warrior's the heavy armor ebony plate.
Oh, so it is. Sorry, man.
And when you crouch, it poisons. Don't quiz me, man.
Come on, bro.
Honestly, I get all the bitches with this part. But yeah, the ebony blade. It's so cool that obviously it's like a samurai sword. It is technically an ebony two-handed weapon, but it absorbs health a bit like the vampire perks. But for you to absorb more health, so obviously to gain more damage, you have to kill innocent people. And as you do it, the Daedric, I can't remember her name, she speaks to you as you kill anyway, as you grow, and it's really good dialect and dialogue, and you feel really nasty.
I can't remember the name. I know what you mean.
Aye. But it's got a really creepy start to the storyline as well. It's a case of it's the Jarl of Whiterun and his son's possessed and he keeps hearing voices. It's through a door.
Yeah.
And you end up lockpicking the door, I'm pretty sure, or you get the keys to the door, and then obviously you find the blade and that starts it. But it's pretty creepy when you speak to this child and he's like rehearsing all this Daedric nonsense. It's a bit, yeah. But
is that, when you were saying about Daedric, is that Boethia woman?
No, Boa FIFA. I can't say it.
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah, let's just call her that. She's the one that gives you the ebony mail.
I'm trying to think, because then the only other female one you have is it Mephala?
Mate, there's that many, I'm not sure.
Meridia or Namira. Oh, is it? No, that's the Elder Oblivion. I was going to say, is it Nocturnal? But that's
no.
Nocturnal's the guy it's all about. No, she's all about the Thieves Guild.
To be fair, that's a bit of a good transition. But all the guilds and the different factions you can help and belong to and join is one of the best things about Skyrim and Oblivion.
Oh, it's got to
100%.
be. Any favourites?
I always liked the Thieves Guild and the Brother. What was the Brotherhood one?
Dark Brotherhood.
Dark Brotherhood. They were
Brotherhood.
favourites of mine.
The Dark Brotherhood was easily my favourite quest. In fact, to tell you, or favourite guild, sorry, to tell you, right? So you went from murderer to slayer to eliminator to assassin to executioner to silencer to speaker to listener.
Nice.
Bundy, sometimes you really impress me.
Mage's Guild had the best, if you like, the best residence. That was the coolest one. What?
I would disagree because
Winterhold?
you've not played the Dawnguard DLC.
I haven't.
Which is what I'm going to get into. As much as it's disgusting, I've only played Skyrim. DLC discussions, I'm going to focus on Skyrim, obviously, because it's the only one with DLC, excluding Elder Scrolls Online.
No, Oblivion had the Shiver Niles, which was incredible.
Sorry.
Dirty heathen like yourself wouldn't know that because you hadn't fucking played it.
Well, can I just say, you've not played any DLCs for Skyrim, so...
I haven't,
I think we're as bad, but...
Because when I heard... Right, I'll talk about it later.
No, you've had your chance, but Bundy, give us a bit about DLCs, thoughts, opinions. Let's get us going.
So when you play Dawnguard, and you first go to Dawnguard Castle, and you're just like, what the... And then it's just like... It's literally like, if you think like a medieval kind of castle, it's got like the drawbridge. It's got like the massive like bridge. It looks a wee bit Lord of the Rings, just like Minas Tirith kind of vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing it and I was like, this is so cool. And then the whole like, so believe it or not, this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like siding with the vampires. I'm all the Dawnguard, and
you are hitting all the buttons today, mate.
I know. But then it's like, because I don't know if it's technically a thing, but like you've got, like in Skyrim there is the whole lycanthrope like disease too, where you can go and become a werewolf. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to be a Dawnguard werewolf.
Yeah. Can you beat both?
So Dawnguard, because it's anti-vampire, werewolves don't like vampires in my world anyway. So I had like the lycanthrope disease and was one of the Dawnguard. So it would be like they would like you go into battles against vampires, and I would just be like walking in. I'd like kill a couple of folk, and then I'd purposely let someone hit me, and then I'd be like, well.
Switch.
I'm a head out, and then I'd just like switch to the werewolf, and I'd be like, oh hell.
I think that'd be quite common because obviously the companions are the first people, like side quest thing you meet during Skyrim, and most people will do it early doors, and that's obviously where you have to become a werewolf. You have the choice at the end to heal yourself, but why would you? Let's be honest. It gives you another great perk which makes you immune to all disease, which is very
handy. Definitely handy.
What do you know about Dawnguard, Ewan? Do you want us to tell you a little bit about it?
I'll be honest. I've seen some gameplay online. I've watched Bundy playing it when we've been playing Xbox together and stuff. But is that the one where you can build a house?
No,
that's Hearthfire.
Is that the only thing you can do in Hearthfire?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty much surrounded. That was kind of like a little additional DLC. The two main ones are Dawnguard and Dragonborn.
Okay, but the Dawnguard one, I know, the vampires are introduced into it. I thought it was sort of like, you would get a choice in extra guild, and you would go down one route or the other, and that was almost
Pretty much it.
essentially.
Yeah, so to give you a bit of concept, the Dawnguard's about an ancient vampiric family, and they have a daughter who's hidden away from them who has an Elder Scroll, and it's the Blood Elder Scroll, if I'm right in saying. And her dad's trying to find it pretty much because with the Elder Scroll and the ability of a Daedric weapon called Oriel's Bow, he can block out.
Remember that?
Yeah,
That is
he can block out the sun. And what happens is once the sun's blocked out, obviously vampires can come outside all the time and feast. So they've pretty much got no weakness. The cool thing about the bow, once you get it, you get two different types of arrow. You get blood-soaked arrows, which when you hit vampires, they set on fire and explode, which is really cool. It also has the ability, if you shoot an arrow at the sun, the sun and the sky start shooting meteors down below you. It's such a cool weapon. But pretty much you side either with the vampires or the Dawnguard, which is a group of vampire hunters, to put it simple. And to be honest, I totally agree with Bundy. If you go down the Dawnguard side, you get ridiculously cool armour. You get armoured trolls as followers. You get the crossbow, which Bundy didn't mention, which I'm really surprised at. It's absolutely brilliant. For me, it's the best DLC, even though it is quite a bit smaller than Dragonborn, which I was going to discuss. So rather than have me geek out, Bundy, do you want to talk a bit about Dragonborn?
Yes. So Dragonborn is, in my opinion, the worst DLC in Elder Scrolls.
What order did they come out? Sorry, Craig.
Dawnguard, then Dragonborn. Dragonborn was the last.
Okay.
Aye. So Marak, who is the main bad guy in Dragonborn.
Marak, the god of steaming.
Literally.
When the fuck was he called Marak?
What's his
Mirak. Mirak.
Mirak, same as.
Marak, my man.
But so he, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was Dragonborn.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And then he was meant to be the first Dragonborn, and then he was the one that went, and it was Hermes Mora that he was like hitting.
You are impressing me today.
Thanks. That he was like hitting up, and then
just on a side note, Hermes Moya Ewan is the Daedric god of knowledge.
Because then he had like all the wee black books and everything. You had to like learn new powers in order to stop him, basically. But
cool.
it had like loads. It had like new shouts and stuff because he was like the first Dragonborn, and technically like there's new shouts and stuff. And then is that where you had to also get the masks as well? Am I right in saying that?
The masks are through the standard game anyway. There is some additional ones from the Dragon Quest.
You can get his one, eh? You can get his mask as well.
Yeah, you can get his one.
Yeah,
there's a couple of additional ones.
And it's Solstheim that it takes place on, eh?
Yep, which is Morrowind.
Yeah, which is quite cool. And then because you learn a wee bit more about the Dunmer and everything like that through it, which is quite cool, I think.
Yeah, I like that you can do that in the world of Elder Scrolls. I suppose you've got all these different areas and there's lore behind them all, and you almost relate them to each other. So whenever you're in Skyrim and you hear about Imperial City, you think, "Oh, that's Oblivion." Like when they says there's ties back to Morrowind and stuff.
But Imperial City, if you look in Skyrim terms, is Solitude.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
it
is probably. But yeah, I know what you mean about Dragonborn. The big thing is about Dragonborn is that Mirak's just kind of there. It doesn't really give too much dialect. It's like easier to kill you because you're Dragonborn. There's not much to it. One thing I will say, the voice acting's amazing. And the guy who does Hermes Moya, he's absolutely brilliant. One of the really cool things that you would like, Ewan, and I heavily advise you to play it at some point, it doesn't take long, is he rides pretty much on Nazgul. His dragon is the spitting image of a Nazgul from Lord of the Rings.
I like that. I rate that.
It's the spitting image. And you also get a shout ability which allows you to ride dragons.
Fuck off.
Yeah, but you can't control them, which is the shit thing that upset a lot of people because the engine can't handle it. But you can control it to a little extent. You can choose where it goes. You can choose it to attack, but it's not full control, which is stuff. Yeah, excuse me, I've got a bit of gas on this rum.
Got to make a character that looks exactly like Daenerys Stormborn.
But that's a little bit about DLC. Obviously, there was Heartfire that kind of.
Well, can we talk a bit about the Shiver Niles, because that's one that I really.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sitting just going on about Skyrim, guys. For it.
For me, Oblivion was a game we played to death. I mean, like multiple playthroughs, and this was in a time where you had Xbox Live, but this was a single player game, and it was much, much smaller than Skyrim. And then when eventually you do go to the Shiver Niles, if you can hear a noise, there's a troublesome coaster that occasionally sticks to the bottom of Bundy's bottle, and every time it falls, he looks at me and he mouths the words "fuck's sake," but he holds it and doesn't say it. That's the third time it's happened. So if you hear it, just ignore it.
I'm just holding it for now.
Do you want to switch?
No, I'm holding it for now on, and that's it.
Okay. Anyway, so you go to the Shiver Niles, and you've got the main character in it is a madman called Sheogorath, and he's nuts, and he's got the coolest staff ever, which is called Wabbajack. And when you use it, like any staff in Skyrim, it has an ability, but his staff, it's random. It could heal your enemy, it could kill them, it could one-hit them, it could poison them, whatever.
Turn them into a chicken.
But, exactly. And you can either choose the...
Madness or Mania.
Amber? What was the Amber stuff too?
Oh, that was armour.
The light armour.
It's Madness or... You can either choose to side with Madness or Mania, or do what I've done, and before you make the choice, save the game.
And get all the achievements in one side.
And then make one choice, and then reload that save, and then make the other choice, and then that's you fully achieved it.
That was one of the last games I can remember where you actually had to save your game, and you could get multiple loads from the same save. But it was a great game, and it expanded to what was before that a relatively small game. And it's the character and the sort of lore behind that's in ESO now. I was just telling Bundy I played through the Sheogorath section recently.
That's pretty cool. Do you know there's this big thing that Sheogorath is a disease, and actually everyone's Sheogorath?
Ooh.
They try to make out that Sheogorath is actually your mental mind.
You've managed to say his name different 3 times there. How much have you had to drink?
I'm having a stinker. Waiting on Monday tonight. I've tanned quite a lot of whiskey, and now I'm on one. So, I had to do something to calm the nerves, honestly. I was about fucking ripping my clothes off when I heard the intro music to Skyrim. But sorry, I'll let you guys talk a little more about DLC.
Well, that was pretty much it for me. I mean, one thing that I suppose we can talk about it. So arguably not a main series game, if you like.
Hold on. It's going to come.
Okay, well, the expansions for that, some of that impresses me. Some of it, not so much. I think it you could rate each DLC on its own, and they would score quite differently for me. But we'll get to that. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. I just want to kind of, because obviously you know what I'm like. I'm going to focus a lot on Skyrim, and then I want it to move away from me just fanboying. So, again, the next bit can be for Skyrim, it can be for Oblivion, because it's actually the same music, they've just slightly tweaked. I just want to touch on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
For me, it's up there with Halo as one of the best soundtracks ever made for games. It's so well known. For people who haven't even played the game, know the music. Don't know what your thoughts are, opinions. Obviously, you had the intro today.
Fairly simple. Couldn't agree more. It's iconic. I love it. It gets you hyped up.
Bundy?
Believe it or not, so my favourite music in any of the Elder Scrolls games is actually another DLC we've not mentioned yet, but when you first play Knights of the Nine on the Oblivion DLC, when you gather all of the individual bits of armour, it's like a Templar kind of look, and it's got like kind of like wings and helmet and stuff. It's really cool. But when you gather it all, like the sun rises on the shrine. And then all you hear is it's honestly, I was like, wait, is this the Halo tune? Because all you hear is oh, and I was like, wait, is this Halo? And then it's like, and then I was like, whoa! And then I just remember it was just like, it was if you mix like the Halo, Skyrim, and Oblivion soundtrack into one, that's what this was. And I was just like, whoa! And there's literally been like 3 games that's ever happened where I've been like, oh my god, and just sat like controller down and listened to it.
My beer's out of date. I've just looked at the date on my can, and my beer's 2 months out of date.
You'll live. You'll be absolutely fine. As beer, it's fine.
I know. It's pretty poor because I bought it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, fine. Totally off topic, but it's fine.
Beer's all
Sort of aside from the music is that later on I've got a bit of a treat for you, as I know you've kind of hinted it to you, but just remember the music side. But one thing I would advise you to do is listen to the actual Skyrim soundtrack, the backing soundtrack. Just put it on if you're doing a bit of work or just want to chill out. Some of it's absolutely incredible.
To be fair, Bundy is a big soundtrack buff. So, for example, in December when we went to see the final ever start. Shit.
What's going on?
So I had to change the light bulb in this room. Before we started recording, the lamp just fell off. I shot myself.
Welcome to the Time In podcast.
It's like being in heaven now. It's that bright. Wow.
Have I died?
Honestly, I wasn't sure at that moment. But oh my god, what was I saying? My heart rate is rocking.
You're right.
I got a fright and Bundy just started looking around like, what is happening? Big soundtrack buff because we went to see Star Wars. The whole drive there, he played Star Wars like soundtracks all the way there. Oh, it was brutal, but nah, it's a good soundtrack to be fair. I've only listened to a couple of bits of it, but I'll need to. Is it on Spotify? I'm assuming it's on Spotify.
Yeah, I listened to it all day today whilst driving. It was really cool driving all over the Scottish East Coast in my work gear, listening to Dragons and nonsense. But hey,
shouting
pretty much.
The guy who done the Skyrim soundtrack, Jeremy Soule, I believe his name is.
Yeah, something like that, mate. Yeah.
He's done quite a few because he worked with like Bandai Namco and all that kind of stuff. And he's just a very, very good composer, like overall. But I remember because I remember playing and I was like, this sounds like kind of like Skyrim. Even though I can't remember what game it was like. It was like a ninja game on the PS4 or something like that, or PS3 maybe. And I was like, this sounds so much like Skyrim because it was kind of classical and was like the whole like what are they called? Like group of people, choir kind of sound. And I looked and it was like Jeremy Soule, and I was like, oh my god, that's him.
Yes, it's pretty incredible. One thing I would advise as well, if you're ever kicking about YouTube looking for something to watch, listen to some of the covers. There's a cappella covers, there's metal guitar covers. Some of it's incredible. But yeah, that's
do you know what I really want, right? Have you ever? I don't know if you've ever seen it, but you ever seen the video on YouTube, and it's the guy in the bathroom singing the Halo theme tune.
Yeah.
I really want him to do like the what a team, what a ha, what a hey, what a ha, and I'd be like, wow.
Bundy's just a bag of.
That's what I want. That's what I want him to do that because he was class.
That's what you do in the gym.
I've just upset my dogs. They're now looking at me like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" But it's okay. Right, next bit. Moving away because I'll start singing. I don't know if Ewan knows about this. It's fine if you don't. We'll give you a bit of context. Going back to Skyrim, Parthenax versus the Blades. What's your opinions?
Blades from the first part of the
Are you
mission
serious?
in Oblivion.
Are you serious?
No, hear me out here. The first part of Oblivion, you end up with the blades, and you get the coolest fucking katana and some really cool swords. And so I've always just had like an affiliation with them in my head, and so I would roll with it.
Ewan, Delphine's a cow.
Right, she is a cunt, but however, imagine you support a football team,
Right.
and they get a player who is a cunt. You still support the team.
Bundy, can you talk some sense?
No
way you side with the Blades. There's no way. What?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Craig.
Parthenax a bitch.
Don't make me cry. Not when we're recording.
This is an emotional roller coaster for me.
I literally for the moment, right? Because big Tiber Septim, my man, right?
My G.
He was like, whoa, the Blades, good guys, and I was like, cool. And you go to San Crotor, which is like their like sky castle thing,
Yeah.
and they were like, all right, mate, and I was like, oh, hello, you look like a medieval samurai, and it was like, cool, go and help yourself to some armour, and while you're at it, take a katana. And I was like, well, I forever love you. So when Parthenax was like, the Blades are evil, I was like, no, you're a bitch, mate.
I'll actually let you know that Parthenax does not badmouth the Blades. He say,
you know what I mean.
you make the decision. The Blades force a decision on you, and Parthenax, look, he's like, do what you want. Bear in mind, without Parthenax, you would have all died and Alduin would have won.
That's true. But still, fuck him.
And the thing is that if you actually look at it, Parthenax, yes, he did used to be a bit of a bad dragon back in the days, but he is peaceful, and it's a case of, it's all good you sitting saying, yeah, I need to kill all the dragons, but this is generally a character that has affiliates with all these Daedric princes and princesses and sacrifices innocent people, and might be a werewolf, might be a vampire. For me, I just think the Blades don't have enough depth to them for me to go, yeah, I'm going to kill Parthenax, even though he's just helped me save the world.
See, the thing is though, right, because when I played Oblivion, right, there's Captain Renault, who is like, because the Blades are like protecting.
They're much bigger than Oblivion, aren't they?
They're like protecting the Emperor, and like then they die, and like the way they die is like protecting the Emperor, and then so like for there, because like the Emperor's such a sound guy, and he's like, listen man, take my amulet, alright, you're a G. It's like the Blades like sacrificed it. So I know this is going to sound really weird, but see like the way that Barristan Selmy sacrifices himself and all that kind of stuff in Game of Thrones, that's how I picture Captain Renault for the Blades, because he's like he goes into like an unbeatable fight and just dies, and I'm like, you my man are a hero. So the Blades in Skyrim, they're the Blades, they're not as good as the ones in Oblivion, but because they were that amazing in Oblivion, Parthenax was a dead man as soon as I seen him.
Yeah.
So that I'm not as upset now, because it sounds like obviously if I played Oblivion to the extent of you guys, I would maybe have a bit more knowledge about the Blades.
Because you're probably loyal, I think you would end up with the Blades as well, to be fair.
Yeah, we'll see. But after we've just had a little argument there, let's just really throw a spanner in the works. The Skyrim Civil War story. Who, why, who benefits the most? Go.
Who benefits the most?
Can we rephrase that question?
Oh, who does the best for Skyrim? Yeah.
No. Yeah. Let's rephrase the question, right?
Right.
Choose Skyrim Civil War, and why are you choosing the Imperials? Because they're better than the Stormcloaks. Why would you choose the Stormcloaks at all? Imperials for life.
Could I just cut in for a little second?
Yeah.
This is the second time we're asking you to leave the podcast. We're at the timeinpodcast@gmail.com.
No, in fact,
if you're interested.
Leave it. I wanted to keep it running so everybody can hear me drop kicking Bundy when I say that Stormcloaks are better. They're Skyrim Vikings.
How could you be Scottish and go with the Imperials? Give me reasons why. You can't just be like the Imperials are
Have you even watched Braveheart? Fuck.
Are you even Scottish, Bundy?
General Tullius would rape Ulfric Stormcloak in the ass with his sword, and that would be over and done with. That's all I have to say.
No.
He's about 2 feet tall, and he has what you call her doing all his battles for him. What's her name? The big tall lassie, the big Nord.
Here's Skyrim's answer to Napoleon, and he's got severe, what we would call wee man syndrome, so little man syndrome.
Correct. Thank you.
He's
Ewan.
compensating. Big time.
So, sell it to me, Bundy. You're not selling me the Imperials.
Right, so think of the Imperial City, right? A place where life blossoms. The Imperial Guard have such cool armour.
It's like King's Landing.
But it's like
It's
everyone's sound, right? Everyone's cool, and it is like a medieval utopia. If any crimes happening, the Imperial Guard are on your ass, right? The Imperials are just cool as fuck, right? The Citadel, everything, all cool as anything. They're loyal to the Emperors and everything like that. The Aldmeri Dominion, they kind of come into it and they're a bit like, but apart from that, it's all about the Imperials. Their like system with the kings, and then you've also got the fact that they link in with the Blades and everything like that, and I am all about that. These, I wouldn't even call them Nords, because like I see the Stormcloak more like the Danes in real life history, and the Danes are just like really arrogant, think they're the best, realistically just are a militia shite.
Can I just say, the Time In podcast is not a political podcast, but the Imperials are the Elder Scrolls version of Tories. And I can say that because I'm a proud Scot, right? And I know how you guys think as well. they are Tories. Ewan, sell me Stormcloaks. Fix this.
Just fucking cool Viking guys with big fucking swords and beards. And they're no posh wee wankers like the Imperials. No, I think... See when you have the dialogue with each of them, the Imperials do seem a bit arrogant and a bit up themselves, if you like. I would almost compare them to like the sort of Lannister army in Game of Thrones. You know, that sort of we're the best and they know they're arguably the best.
Just remember you said that because I'm going to touch on that later. But
okay,
that's a really good point.
Well, I know what you mean. There's the amount of crossovers. Anyway,
just hold that thought.
I remember when you first said to me, "Yeah, Game of Thrones is just Skyrim."
Hold that thought. Just keep going.
And whereas you see the Stormcloaks and they're humble, more humble, and you almost side them because they do seem like the beaten underdogs in a way, and you do want to help them. They're a bit more relatable, I thought. Whereas the Imperials, I just thought they're arseholes. And when you look at the armour, you're kind of, when you know there's a choice between factions, you're sort of looking at the characters and the aesthetics thinking, which armour am I really going to want here? So, Stormcloaks for me. What do you think, Craig?
My other thing, right, just before you say anything, Craig, right, is that, so Ulfric was like, everything was cool, the Imperials were doing what they're doing, right, and then Ulfric was like, well, nah, I don't like this, I want to be an independent country, I'm going to start this civil war, and I'm going to fix it.
King. That's what started it. He murdered the High King.
Aye, but like he's like, I'm going to like start the civil war. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to be the High King. Blah blah. Right, but then his end goal, realistically, right, is to have Skyrim as an independent nation or country or whatever you want to call it, right, and then go to war with the Aldmeri Dominion, a war that he could not win. You're sending everyone to die. What is wrong with you?
He could win, I reckon. If anybody could.
Are you going to let me start?
Yeah.
So, the Stormcloaks, right? From, if you look at Skyrim as a game, it's very much that kind of rustic, underdog sort of vibe. It seems almost quite poor.
Yeah.
And the Stormcloak option is very much it's the side of where people are reclaiming their freedom almost. And it's a case of they have such strong beliefs in what they're doing. What they're doing all the time might not be right, which I'm going to touch on in a wee second. But they are the ones that actually love Skyrim. They actually believe in Skyrim. But what I want to touch on, so as much as it's probably not the right thing to do, Ulfric killed the High King by shouting at him.
Yeah.
Which is cool, right? Which is just out and out cool. But when you look at it, right, I side with the Stormcloaks because of the story behind them, the character. I believe they've got a lot more to them. And let's be honest, and a famous saying that Ewan uses a lot, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. And they literally give you bear armour.
Yeah.
But what you need to remember is the Imperials, they're obviously more governed. They have more an investment within Skyrim. What you need to remember is, though, the elves are the ones that are funding that in the background. They pretend that they don't have that relationship. And let's be honest, in the Elder Scrolls, it doesn't matter. The elves are the baddies in the background, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So, for me, it has to be the Stormcloaks. What benefits Skyrim most? I would probably say in the short term, the Imperials, which I bet you didn't expect me to say, because they're going to invest a lot of money, a lot of safety. And if you look at the side with the Stormcloaks, they're very arrogant. They're also very racist. They can't stand Boromir. What's the name of them? The Dark Elves' real name. What's the name of it, Bundy? What's the name of them?
It's not Dwemer, is it?
Dwemer. No. What's the name? Right, anyway, the Dark Elves.
Dunmer.
The Dunmer, thank you. They're also very funny about orcs, etc. So I think that would be an issue. I think the Imperials bring structure short term. But what I would see happening is the Imperials leaving Skyrim, going back to the Imperial City. And I think they would leave Skyrim as a bit as a wasteland once they funded from it. I think the Stormcloaks initially would be not the best. I think they would upset a lot of people. There'd be a lot of violence. But I think over time, once they started to get governed properly, because let's be honest, Ulfric's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
Once they started to govern, I think long term the Stormcloaks would be better. But the Imperials are little fucking Tories.
See, I agree with what you're saying. The part I flip kind of is that the Imperials are good for the short term, and then they find someone better than Ulfric for the long term, and then they're like, cool, you're good now, see you later.
So if you could replace the leader, you would jump to Stormcloak.
If Ulfric, right, wasn't an absolute bloodthirsty maniac who just wants to just fight everyone, 100% Stormcloak, 100%. But it's just the fact that, he's just such an idiot of a guy. He's like, oh, I want to go to war, you're the High King.
That's actually a really good impression.
I was thinking that's actually not bad.
That was really strong.
I know, but that's because I hate him, because he's like, Dragonborn, you come do for me, I'm going to do and shouts and go to the Greybeards.
What is his accent? It's fucking like, what is Ulfric's accent? Because it's Danish slash Donegal.
God,
you just talk like this in the Dragonborn.
That's insane how good that is. Anyway, moving on.
Next.
I've got a couple of points I want to fire through quickly, because obviously time is at the essence and I have a little bit of fun at the end. What do you think about the rebranding, especially with Skyrim? Obviously, all the memes about Skyrim's eventually going to be on the back of a fridge.
Skyrim on Tamagotchi.
But what's your opinions? Discuss.
As many platforms as you can play it on, the better. And it's...
If you have to make Skyrim on 100,000 million platforms so that I can get the Elder Scrolls 6 one day quicker, please do it.
You see, that's the thing. I think
with that.
redoing Skyrim and making it compatible on different consoles will probably slow it down, if anything.
It extends the lifetime of Skyrim, it does.
But and potentially slows development of Elder Scrolls 6, we'll call it, because I put resources into this, but we'll not go there yet.
Oh, that's when I'm going to fucking...
And it is an absolute meme pit. I love Skyrim memes.
They're brilliant. Go on. Let's not dwell into that too much, because it's just a quick question, because it obviously comes up quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on this earlier, Ewan, and I just want to get a bit of everyone's opinion on what is it that Bethesda offline games bring that others are trying to rectify, but I don't think anyone has quite got there yet. What is it that makes it such a replayable game?
I feel like I have a good answer for this, right? And I'm going to go more back to Oblivion for it, right? So when I first seen Oblivion, the reason I wanted to buy it was because there was a class system, an Argonian, a Breton, a High Elf, a Dunmer, an Orc, all like never had been in the one place, if that makes sense, other than like WoW or something like that, World of Warcraft. And like the fact that each had class specific like perks or traits or anything like that, and the fact that Argonians could breathe underwater and stuff like that was just really cool. So like it was just the fact that they basically, and I would say still are, probably the only game to do something very close to World of Warcraft in an RPG, and have it so that the skill trees are unique enough where that no matter, so if you're playing one class and you use all the skill trees, that will feel completely different to when you're using a different class or race.
Changes the game.
And it literally means so that if I'm a two-handed orc, or if I'm a high elf mage, or if I'm a wood elf archer or something like that, I feel like when I go through the game, I'm playing the same game but in such a different way every single time. You can still go after the same weapons and stuff like that, but I tend to find whenever I've done it in numerous playthroughs, I'd be like, oh cool, I didn't really want the ebony blade just now, or I don't really need them, but I'll go and get it, but I don't need it. I actually really want this, like the Sanguine Bow or whatever it was, or Sanguine Alchemy or whatever it is, I can't remember. But Aureol's Bow. I really want that because that's the end game bow and it's going to be really cool, blah blah.
Sanguine Alchemy's destiny, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but it's because Sanguine is also a Daedric.
Don't you ruin this Elder Scrolls podcast. Do not do it.
But just that alone, the fact that they had such variety and you could play the same game so many different times, because you could do one race with all the classes and it'd feel different, but then you could do all the different races with all the different classes, and then the fact that like you had the, like when I was an Argonian, if I put on, for example, glass armor, it just looked a bit stupid. But see, when I was like a high elf and I put glass armor on, I looked badass.
See, I was going to say that was a great answer until you said you played as a high elf.
No, So I never actually played as a high elf. I only ever played as a wood elf and
tried
a Dunmer. But the only other one that I played that I really liked was also a Khajiit, which does not get enough love.
Good thieves.
Ewan, what's your opinion? That was a really good answer from Bundy. I imagine yours might be quite similar.
Similar in a way. I mean, I could pretty much second everything Bundy just said, but the one thing I notice is that you compare I think the biggest RPG in the world has to be World of Warcraft, if we're being fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I never found it immersive in terms of the story, or just the stuff you would do on your own. I found it repetitive, and it was more competing against others online, essentially. When you can grind, and when you play Skyrim or Oblivion, I find the story incredibly immersive. All the storylines you go down, you actually feel attached to the characters, like there's some people you actually want to help. You know what I mean? But
General Tullius.
no, that wee prick. Well, I don't know. I do feel a lot of emotion. I feel quite a lot of anger towards that wee fanny.
Definitely. This is your last episode, Bundy.
Let's play Skyrim, and we actually just lure Bundy into a game where we beat fuck out of him. The immersive gameplay for one, and just being able to play the same game in so many different ways, like Bundy said. And let's be honest, who's 100% completed Skyrim? Nobody, because it's like all the small individual things you need to do. It's ridiculous. All the individual wee armour sets you could collect. It's insane.
Yeah, about that.
I've done it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
when
you complete it 100%, do you get your virginity back, or
no, it doesn't come back.
It actually takes it, because like it's like, listen, we have fucked you over for the last like 3 years of you playing this game, so you're not virgin anymore, man.
Some good answers. I'm with both of you on it, to be honest. Bundy's answer, it's a bit like this, right? Skyrim is one of the games now. Warcraft and MMOs do try to do it, but they restrict you in a sense, because obviously there's level caps, there's player skills, etc., all that sort of stuff. In Skyrim, if you're not great, you lower the difficulty.
Yeah.
If you aren't a fan of main storyline, you can go do what you want. It's almost like you're writing a book. So you, me, and Bundy could do a Skyrim playthrough. But imagine if we sat down, had, say, a discussion, maybe recorded it like a podcast. Every single playthrough will be completely different.
Yeah.
And the factor is, say, for example, Bundy, because he's a filthy Imperial, would focus on the Imperial storyline first. Or maybe he wants to leave that to last, because what happens in the Skyrim, drops and gear, etc., scale with your level. So say, for example, there's an artifact that you really want, and you really enjoy, but you want that to be a higher level, you can do that at a later part of the game. You can choose what you want to grow. And for me, I'm going on card here, and obviously I'm talking about Skyrim, I have never played a game that allows you to do that. A lot of games like to pretend that they do. A couple of shout-outs would be Destiny, the Assassin's Creed franchise. Warcraft is an absolute shout. They do it to an extent, but I've never seen anyone do it as flexible. And the big thing is in Skyrim as well, a lot of games restrict you. If you choose, say, I want to be a warrior, I want to be a mage, you can then go and be a mage after maximising all your warrior perks. You can go and be a thief. I can't think of another game that allows you to do that. You can do all aspects of that game. And
you can literally be the Grand Master of the Fighters Guild, the like the head mage or whatever, the archmage.
Archmage, yeah.
And you can also be the listener in the Dark Brotherhood, the hero in the fighter, like everything. Like, it's just mad. And one I really like doing is I really like in both Oblivion and Skyrim is being like quite a good guy and like helping the people, but also being the fucking real G when it comes to the Dark Brotherhood and murdering everyone.
Well, do you remember? See when you got to, I think it was the Thieves Guild, when you finished it, you got what was the cowl called?
Oh, the
Nightingale cowl.
No, you got the Nightingale armor and you got the.
You got a whole set, yeah.
The cowl, oh my god.
So basically, you would have a bounty when you had the cowl on, but see when you switched, you took the cowl off, as long as there weren't guards watching you would have zero bounty. It was the only thing that would really let you put a cowl on and just kill everybody. This was Oblivion. You could get away with everything. Stealing, your bounty would go up and up and up, and if you just went hidden, you could take the cowl off and you were fine.
The grey cowl of Nocturnal, that's what it was.
Nocturnal.
I did look it up there because I was like, this is really annoying me. And it was literally, so see like an executioner's mask, it looked like that. Yeah. You would put it on and then you'd be like, well, here we go, and you would just run around absolutely nailing folk, and they'd be like, they would actually say to you, they're like, it's the Grey Fox, because like that was who supposedly who like had it to start with. They're like, it's the Grey Fox, and then you'd run behind the building, you'd open the menu, you'd take it off, and you'd run back, and they'd be like, where did he go?
You're the only one standing behind the building.
Boys, I'm going to make a promise. I am going to buy Oblivion after this podcast, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to do it.
Get Shiver Niles, 100%.
I will, but as a deal, I want you to play the DLCs for Skyrim.
Fine.
That's the deal. Bundy, you just do you. But yeah, going back.
In fact, Bundy, you need to play Skyrim again, but join the Stormcloaks.
So right, let's just make a deal here, right? So we're all going to do that, right? But at the same time, we're going to let Craig play Oblivion first, right?
Right.
And the best thing about it is the fact that you can stream it, right?
Right.
And then
we plug.
Correct. Time Podcast on Twitch. Twitch.tv/the Time Podcast. But you can play that, and then when Ewan does the DLC, he can technically stream that, and when I side with the dirty, stinking, hoaching bastards of the Stormcloaks, I'll stream that.
Just interlude. We're accepting all CVs at the timeinpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, look at me, I'm Ulfric, I'm going to hand my CV in and shout, oh!
That impression is so fucking good.
It's usually pretty damn close.
But I'm gonna quickly move on, because obviously time is at the essence. But yeah, I think we're all agreed the big difference is obviously the replayability factor. The fact that you can play Skyrim every time and you can completely customise and choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. There's no restrictions. So, cool. Two last points on sort of Elder Scrolls, and then I'm going to ask a little bit on ESO, especially from Ewan. What's your thoughts on the downfall of Bethesda? What I mean by this is the example of the car crash that was Fallout 76.
The game.
I'm also not a Fallout fan, so it's maybe a bit unfair, but one of the best things about the Elder Scrolls fan base is their creative fans, so they obviously make all the mods, they share it for people for free, and then Bethesda pretty much copied that and then made it as a paid feature, which upset a lot of people and obviously caused a lot of friction. Let's be honest, Bethesda is not in the place it was in, say, 2011 when it released Skyrim. It's not a very highly thought of game developer at the moment. Thoughts, opinions, go for it.
I would argue it's not changed in terms of rankings when you compare it to others, because what game developer didn't go through that phase of loot boxes and paid DLCs and extra content and stuff, you know? I don't think it's harmed them that much. That being said, I think Bethesda goes into big lulls, mainly in between Elder Scrolls games, to be fair, and Fallout games. I'm not the biggest Fallout fan. I think New Vegas was probably the only one I properly got into. And when I heard about Fallout 76, I phoned Bundy. He got it a few days before me. I didn't actually buy it because of his review. He said basically, avoid it. It's a nightmare. The game's fucked already. I was like, seriously? I mean, you would think a developer of that level would be able to get that right.
They rushed it out. It wasn't finished.
Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas were two very, 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 very good games. And the fact that you had like Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and then they were like, cool, and then let's release more Fallout games, and we were like, right, cool, so they're going to focus on that over Elder Scrolls, that hopefully will be good. And then they basically reskinned Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, made them worse, and then released them and went, hey! And everyone went, no, fuck you, give me an Elder Scrolls.
Oh,
and they were
I'm glad it was Fallout, because imagine they'd rushed an Elder Scrolls and fucked that.
Well, no, but that's the point, because like Fallout 3 and New Vegas done really well, so they were like, oh, let's focus on that. And I was like, what? And then they released the ESO, and people were like, nah. Yeah.
The biggest problem with Bethesda, they're focused on this creative engine that they use, and it's very, very dated, and it's going to go into the next question, but if they continue to use it, their games are going to look dated. Like Fallout 76, to me, looks pretty damn similar to Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4. I don't see much progression in it, which is quite frustrating, but this is the big question, and this is where I'm going to smash things up and get very upset. The future Elder Scrolls 6, is it going to happen before I die?
Probably no, you're pretty old. You've probably seen your last Elder Scrolls and it was Skyrim, so you might as well just start playing Oblivion.
I don't know if it was just on general chat or if it was on the podcast that we were talking about this, but me and Ewan weren't even 20 by the time that like when Skyrim got released, and we will be over 30 by the time the new one comes out. So we will have went a decade without a new Elder Scrolls game.
Was I 20 when... Was that 20 in 2000?
Because you were 20, I mind you saying you were 20.
Yeah.
That was when you're in Badgate. And I would have been...
We were 18.
18. And then...
No, you should have been 17.
Oh, 17, sorry.
Yeah,
and then when the supposed 2024 release date Elder Scrolls 6 is, that means that I will be 30. So it literally will have been 13 years, 12, 13 years roughly.
That's nuts, isn't it?
In the future. It's just like there's some really sad things. So there was this famous elderly lady who played the hell out of Skyrim and streamed it. Do you know this story?
Yeah.
And
I've not
she
heard
got
this.
no. So she's got loads of records for Skyrim in regards to the amount of stream playtime, etc. And yeah, and it was
How old
that.
is she?
She must be in her 80s.
What?
Aye, it's nuts. She's an
I
older
can't
lady.
even set up a bloody stream.
Aye, but just wait. So it was recognised for Bethesda, which is really cool. But she pleaded about Elder Scrolls 6, and then they brought her in, and she's done voice work for the Elder Scrolls 6, which is really cool. But they keep putting it off and off and changing their ideas and focusing on other things like Starfield, etc.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible to think the likelihood of Elder Scrolls 6 coming out when she's alive is very, very slim.
Yeah.
And it's just little bits like that. And yeah, the example of Bundy said, you were teenagers when you played the last Elder Scrolls game. You're going to be like a full-grown man. And it's... The thing is, right, when they release Elder Scrolls 6, if it's a bad game, it's the end of Bethesda, in my opinion. I think people have been so patient, and Bethesda's enforced them in doing that. If they release something that's not great, but like Fallout 76, which I don't think will happen because, let's be honest, they're not releasing it early.
Yeah.
It needs to be an absolute banger of a game. It needs to be what Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind brought, combined into one with state-of-the-art new age graphics. It needs to be on next-gen consoles.
We did speak about the size of it, didn't we? Like the map.
Mm.
So
If they announced about the size
map
of
to date, isn't it?
I would hope so.
I'm expecting that it's the biggest map to date on any console or any game.
Should hope so.
You've had 14 years, 12 years basically. Do you know what I mean? Realistic. And then, like, at the end of the day, like, they knew after Skyrim that whoever had played Skyrim, the sales of Skyrim, they are absolutely then going to buy Elder Scrolls 6. Why they have taken 12 years?
It's weird because we'll get on
it
in a second. Ken, the ESO map.
Hmm.
You know how that's pretty. It's big, to be fair, but you can cover each section really quickly. I think, see if you put that into the main series games, it's going to be much, much bigger, much more detail. It would be a much better experience, and they would probably beef it out a bit. They would stretch it out.
At this point, I was always happy with like Morrowind, Skyrim, and I would have been cool with like for them to look at one of the other areas in the Elder Scrolls universe and be like,
well, it's kind of been agreed that it's what's the name of it?
They done a
It's the can't say this.
The Redguard one.
The Redguard area. Yeah.
Aye. So like on a map, like I don't think the Redguard like home is going to be.
It's not any bigger than Skyrim, is it?
Nah. It's like I just don't understand how on earth you're going to do that. Like I just don't.
Imagine you got a game the exact same size as Skyrim. Would you be happy?
No.
Craig?
No, of course, no, you wouldn't because it's been too long. It needs to improve.
But
you can't
would
just
you still buy it? Yes.
Hammerfell. Hammerfell.
That's the one. Thank you, Bundy.
I think I would end up buying it regardless. That being said, if it's not got any multiplayer element, you're probably not looking at a world that's much bigger than Skyrim. Maybe double, I'd say maybe five times bigger at a push.
And the thing as well, right, with Hammerfell is that based on the other games, I get a very like Persian, Middle Eastern kind of like
it is that
vibe
vibe.
off of Hammerfell, and that's why like it's like I feel like I would hate it if they were like it's sand. And do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be so raging.
Why don't you like sand?
It's cold.
No.
It's rough.
I knew that was coming.
Gets everywhere. No, but like, imagine that because like they released the concept art and it looked really really cool. Looked like it was like properly minted and that kind of stuff. But like people were very quick to point out that it did not represent Redguards as we know it, and people were like, "Well, it's concept art." And we were like, "Yes, I know," but that's like it would be like. You would, and this is maybe like a weird take, but say they were like, cool, let's think of as like the United Arab Emirates, where you've got Dubai, the big cool city and everything like that, but then you've also then got like the other parts which are just sand. Like, if that was delivered to me in Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell, I would cry myself to sleep every night until I was 64.
Be throwing hands at Bethesda.
Can I touch on one last point before I move on to the very last point about obviously the whole future of Elder Scrolls 6. My big worry is with how the gaming industry is changing and there's such a focus on online, and Ewan touched on it in, I think it was the Nostalgia podcast episode, and it was that you look at younger children, younger generations now, they go home and rather around to each other's house and play a game, they play online. It's all about going on to Xbox Live, going to the PlayStation Network. My worry is that Elder Scrolls look to make Elder Scrolls 6 online, and I think that is incredibly damaging. And going back to the point of what does Bethesda offline games brings that others are trying to rectify, I think they totally lose that if it goes online, and that's one of my big worries.
Elder Scrolls Battle Royale.
Don't do it, don't.
Oh, wow. The only hope you've got is games like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted, and games like that, but that still do very well in this point in time.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Huh?
Red Dead Redemption 2, look how successful that was.
I think it's a bit different again. I think you compare that to GTA.
But it's an offline game. It's an offline game though.
We're in online game mode, which is fine, but it's like I think like when you look at like all of those other games, because they're still doing very well in terms of sales and stuff, I think that they should hopefully be like, do you know what, like fair enough, let's just do it. But
if they bring it online, it becomes an MMO. Which is what I don't think we don't want. Which is going to be my last point before we do a little bit of fun at the end, and I want you and kind to lead up this one. Yeah, so I just want a basic discussion about the experience starting off. So just coming from my side, I pre-ordered it obviously on the back of Skyrim. I thought, yes, I want more of this, and kind of similar to Fallout 76. When that game was released, it wasn't ready. It was so buggy. It was a mess, and I left it for years to come. But I do think it's in a decent stage now. I recently bought the DLC, which is obviously back in Skyrim, and I think it is a good MMO. Ewan, thoughts? Give us a bit of insight into it.
I think now it's a great MMO. When it started, it was miles behind. It was glitchy. It was jumpy. That's the best way to explain it. It was clunky. It didn't flow well. Now, fucking incredible. It's great gameplay. The actual main story is quite good. Quite enjoyed that. Everybody's got that same fantasy. See, when we all got Oblivion when we were younger and we were talking about, would it not be cool if we could all jump into the same world and do the same mission? Well, you can. It's not quite the same. The dungeon feature, I love them. I love doing them. They're sort of like the equivalent of raids in Warcraft. They're pretty good fun.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It's in the same world as Elder Scrolls, but it's not the same game. Nowhere near it. It doesn't compare.
I think like
sorry, Bundy, on you go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say the issue that I have with Elder Scrolls Online is that like it's too restrictive for an Elder Scrolls game. Like I went like is it like a Templar or something like that, and I had like a Drake spear and stuff like that, and I had like 4 or 5 moves that I could use, and that was it. And I was like, oh great, wow. Whereas like if I'm playing Skyrim or if I'm playing Oblivion, I know I can use whatever I want when I want. I can even fire a scroll if I really want. You know what I mean? And with that, it was just like, no, stick to your class, stay in your lane, do your job. That's it. and I was like, well, nah.
I need to give a little bit of kudos because Elder Scrolls 6, there's sort of Elder Scrolls 6. Jeez, I'm getting too excited. Elder Scrolls Online, you need to look at it from the front that, yes, there's specific class and builds that work to the best, but what you can actually do is in Elder Scrolls Online, you can choose any weapon with any class, and you can use any sort of armour as well.
That's a good point.
As much as it's very flexible, there's always a better option. So it is the case of, if you're going for that sneaky sort of assassin build, you're better with light sort of medium armour, etc. So yeah, it's cool, but they don't fully utilise it in my opinion.
No.
Not in the same way as Skyrim, but aye, boys, that was fun. Yeah. Really, really fun. I'm sitting here about exploding myself in this seat. But I've got a little fun bit to end on, and it's Skyrim fact finding with Craigie.
Let's see it.
Right, okay.
So, some of these you might know already. I imagine that Bundy will know quite a few. So, it's just some really random facts about Skyrim, which are pretty cool. So, I'm going to fire through them. So, first one, do you know the map shows life in Skyrim in real time? What that means is, so when you pull up the map in Skyrim, so if you think, do you know the clear sky shout?
Oh, yeah, the one that changes the weather, aye.
Yeah, so see if it's really misty and whatnot, and if you use the clear sky shout and then bring up the map, it'll then be removed. So it actually works live with what you're doing in the game.
So the span of that shout is for the whole map?
So if you're in an area and it's cloudy, when you pull out your map and then you come out and use clear sky shout and go back in your map, it clears it on the live. It's actually a live map. I'm pretty sure when you do the Civil War actual, do you know the mission where you invade or protect Whiterun?
Yeah.
You can see it live, etc., which is actually really cool. I didn't know that one, to be fair. This goes back to a point that I think it was Bundy it touched on. Skyrim's map isn't Bethesda's biggest map. The biggest one is actually Daggerfall, which is one of the older games. Obviously, it's a lot lower resolution, a lot lower stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's actually 4,000 times bigger than Skyrim's map.
No way.
Yep.
4,000?
4,000 times bigger.
Fuck.
Yeah, so next random one. Winnie the Pooh's voice actor stars as many of your favourite characters in Skyrim. He plays a couple of Dark Brotherhood characters. I think it's a couple of the Thieves Guild ones as well, which is pretty interesting.
It's ruined Winnie the Pooh for me.
You actually know one of the voice actors. Fucking Ulfric and his stupid stormcloaks.
Another one. So talking about, like, I'll actually let you guess this one. How many lines of dialogue do you think was recorded for Skyrim?
Wait, let me think. I used to be an adventurer, then I took an arrow to the knee. Two.
I'd say a couple of thousand. Say 4,000 lines.
I would say the greetings, probably. There's like hello and adventurer.
Any voice
acting. 10,000. 10.
I'm saying 150,000.
Over 60,000 lines of dialogue was recorded for Skyrim.
Oh wow,
crazy amounts.
That's insane. Couple other random ones. Bethesda put out if someone named their child Dovahkiin on the day of release, so 11/11/11, they would receive free Bethesda games and merch for the rest of its life. So there is a child called Dovahkiin.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is when we learn Craig's real name. Not gonna.
Oh, I wish. One really cool one, which I didn't actually realise. So the dragon language in Skyrim, if you actually look at it, the letters are designed to be written by claws. So if you actually look at it, it's claws tear marks, which is pretty stupid because I actually have it tattooed on my skin and I didn't realise. Couple other bits as well. Skyrim has the most inspired fan tattoos out of any game ever, which I feel kind of bad for now. Going back to the story I told you before the podcast, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
Here's a clue. It's me, Parthenax. Who voiced him?
A guy who is a bitch.
Shut your fucking mouth, Bundy.
Mario?
It's the Mario voice actor. It's an older gentleman. I can't remember his name.
Seriously?
Yeah, he also voices Parthenax. Just shows you how much range he has in his voice to go from that high to that low. Again, another little fact finder. You guys were talking about the music in Skyrim. The main theme, so the Song of the Dragonborn, is sung by 90 people.
Jeez.
It's 90 people it's sung by. It's a choir, funnily enough. And this is a little bit that I want you guys to talk about on. Do you know Skyrim was very, very close to becoming a Game of Thrones title? Just before you get into it, I'm going to give you a few ones.
Cool.
Dragons.
Yeah.
The Imperials being
Lannisters.
Lannisters. The Stormcloaks being
Northerners.
So I'm going to say, and I want you to answer what it is. The Draugr being the...
White Walkers.
Yep. Dragons. You just look at the Dark Brotherhood being the...
Sons of the Harpy.
Very good. See, when you look at it, it's very scary, the
Yeah,
resemblance. So that's why I kind of stopped you earlier on when we were discussing about it.
No, it is very, very similar.
Yeah, because Bethesda were asked to make it, and they were in the production of Skyrim, and they says, no, we want to focus on this. But the similarities are actually scary.
I do see a lot of similarities between Jaime Lannister and one of his characters and General Tullius, and then...
You didn't like him in the... the Game of Thrones podcast, because I said he was one of my favourite characters, and you about Spat the Dummy.
Jaime Lannister? I was a Jaime Lannister stan.
You weren't up for it. Go back and listen. Plug.
Next point.
Couple other bits. Do you know the game features? I don't know if you guys remember these from when you were younger. Choose your own adventure storybooks. So they're like, when you open the book, it says, do you want to go this path? Turn to page 5. Do you want to fight this or avoid this? Turn to page 6.
Right.
They're actually in the game.
Really? Where?
From,
the books that you can find in the game?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm just thinking of Falconhoof.
Did you ever see his adventure call? Remember Lemmy's show? It's a Scottish sketch show.
Yeah.
Welcome to Adventure Call. I'm Falcon.
You take the boots of Hermes and you make the jump. You fall to your death because boots are boots and they're very heavy.
Two last points. Do you know you can kill someone by pickpocketing their heart? It has to be the Forsworn. Do you know the Briar Hearts? The guys that wear like the deer helmets?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you actually pickpocket their hearts, it kills them instantly.
Did not know that.
Last one, which is a bit of a sceptical one. None of the dragons in Skyrim are actually dragons.
Oh, they're wyverns, eh?
Correct, because they only have 2 legs and wings, and dragons have 4.
It's because like in Dark Souls, I remember like there was been a big thing about this for Dark Souls because you come and it's like they talked about in the first one how they wiped out the dragons and stuff like that. That's a big part of the lore. They wiped out the dragons and stuff, and then you fight like the things, and they're called like the Endless Night and stuff, or like Osiris and stuff like that. And people were like, but why are there still dragons if they wiped them out? And everyone was like, they're wyverns.
Yeah, get it right. It kind of destroys the whole concept of what Skyrim is, but yeah, so that is Skyrim fact finding with Craigie.
Also, that now means that we are now wyvern born, not dragon born.
Wow.
You're seriously on a shaky line. You are pushing it. Guys, do you have anything else to add before I close?
Yes. I would just like to add one very quick thing. Please, when it comes round to us streaming the Oblivion / DLC / Simon with his Stinky Manky Bastards, please, if you can, I will do a second stream of Sending with the Glorious Bastards, and if everyone can please tell Craig how the Imperials are better than the Stormcloaks, that would be much appreciated. And it's twitch.tv/Town Podcast.
Ewan, do you have anything to add after that drivel for Bundy?
Fuck the Imperials. No, I'm good.
Cool. If you guys are happy, I'm going to close on that.
Perfect. Cheers for
So, yeah, guys, thank you very much. I absolutely loved this episode, funnily enough. It's great to talk about something that we all really, really enjoy. And I think this is one of the things that we've done that we have quite a lot of knowledge on as well, which is good.
Yeah.
And it's good that it's kind of led us to do some future content with the like of Twitch, what Bundy was discussing. And yeah, it's been really, really enjoyable. And I hope you can see the difference in quality in the podcast. We are getting stronger. We're looking to improve on our setups and our recording, and we're kind of looking at our socials to kind of work with them a bit closer and be a bit more interactive. And again, a big shout out to some of the podcasts that we've worked with previously and the support that we're getting from them through social media. It's been absolutely fantastic. So, but this has been the Time In Podcast, Elder Scrolls / Skyrim, episode 11, and thank you for listening.
Cheers.
I, Ulfric High, King of the Stormcloaks, thank you for listening to the Time In Podcast. Full soda!